Morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day three of the Understanding Your Child's Learning Style course. We are so excited that and honored, to be honest, that you guys have been with us on this transformative journey. Now, as we settle in for yet another robust learning experience. I want to welcome everyone on board, particularly the first amazing group of people who came even when we hadn't started. I can see Lydia. Hi, Lydia. Welcome. I can see Adetutu. Welcome on board. I can see Love Monday. Welcome. Yes, Love Monday came very early. I can see Unique Love. I can see Clara. I can see Ozioma. I can see Diane. I can see Margaret. I can see Joy. I can see Comfort. I can see Mary, I can see Osato, I can see Tessie, I can see all of you. Welcome to day three of the Understanding Your Child's Learning Style course. Welcome on board, everyone. Good morning. Now, before we delve into this session, I'd like to get your feedback. Good morning, everyone. Welcome on board. I'd like to get your feedback on what has been most striking for you for day one and day two. So let's get your feedback quickly and we get this ball rolling. Excellent morning, Elizabeth. Welcome on board. Give me one word that defines how the learning style course has been for you. I can see the good mornings are throwing in. I can see thriving mothers. Good morning. Give us one word and we get this ball rolling for day three. Give us one word that describes the experience you've had in the learning style course. One word, guys. Word. Okay, so Fumilayo is saying the types of play and stages of play. Dr. Molayo did an amazing job. Smart Timothy is saying life changing for me. Would you mind explaining how this is life changing? A mind shift, right? Fumilayo is saying rebuilding. The comments are pouring in. Ezine is saying eye opening. Gift is saying expository. I love it. One thing you must know about the Intentional Parent Academy is that we aim to over deliver. That's one thing you must know. So if this is your first course in the academy, bear it in mind that the academy aims to over deliver. We are going to blow your mind every time you have an experience with the Intentional Parent Academy. So please don't make this your last course. You are about to be blown up today and in the grand finale tomorrow. So we move to today's session. I hope you could see my screen, life changing, transforming, value overloaded session. I hope you can see my screen. Now, before I move on, I would like to say a huge thank you to my boss, Coach Wendy, for this opportunity. Something happened some time ago when I was preparing for a session. I was so apprehensive. And my husband was like, is this not what the sessions you used to do? I'm like, no, you don't get. If you come on the Intentional Parent platform, it's nothing like what you've ever experienced, particularly because our lead coach is a genius. So how do you share knowledge like a genius would? Like it's crazy. So for me, every opportunity I get to come on here to teach, it's such a huge privilege. It's such a huge privilege. And coach, I want to say thank you so much. So let's get this ball rolling. Understanding your child's learning style, embracing learning strengths and study skills. Now, if you can hear me, because someone is complaining about network, if you can hear me clearly, please type I can hear in the comments so we get this session started. Oh, my name, apologies. My name is Precious and I'm a team member at the Intentional Parent Academy. You can hear me. Thank you. So I hope I've introduced myself. My name is Precious. I always assume that everybody just knows the name. So we get the ball rolling. It's breaking. You can hear me clearly. Okay. I'll take it that you can hear me, and even if it's cracking, it's going to get it. Okay, we're back. We're back. We're going to settle in. So we move to the first module for today, which is embrace study skill. Okay, let me turn off my network and I'll be back in a bit. So I take your break as we start. Okay, I'll be back with you shortly. Okay, we are back. Please let me hear your feedback on the clarity of the network now. We are back, we are back, we are back. Apologies for that quick break. We are back. So let us know if you could all hear me. Let us know if you can all hear me. Alrighty. So today we are looking at this is better. Thank you. Hopefully it stays. All right. So today we're looking at embracing learning strengths and study skills. And at the end of this session, we hope to answer the question why some people learn better than the others. At the end of the session, we hope to answer the question why some people learn better than the others. Now, we move to our webinar outline. So the general core focus of this module 3 is to understand why it is that some people learn better than the others. We're going to look at the reasons. We're going to look at the concept of self-regulated learning. We're going to look at learning strengths and study skills. Please sit tight, have your writing materials, because the knowledge you're going to encounter this morning will transform not just your child's learning journey, but your learning journey as well. As we move along, one thing that I want us to begin to understand is and recalibrate is how we view learning. A lot of times, when individuals, not just children in this case, are asked why we learn, the default response is often learn to write examinations. I am an educator, and if we get into the classroom today, or we do a research on the thought process or the thought pattern of students when they are preparing for an examination, one thing you will begin to realize is that a lot of these individuals are just studying because of the examination that is approaching. That is why if you were a library junkie when you were in school, or you are in the educational setting where you get to experience people getting into the library, there is a higher influx of students in the library during examination preparation as opposed to the amount of students who are in the library before examination. Now, this only backs up the claim that a good percent of students actually study because of the examination. After the examination, they drop the knowledge, they drop the discipline, and wait for another examination season to come again. This right here is one of the limiting beliefs that students have. And this right here is the main reason why a ton of students struggle with learning. They struggle because the mindset they get into learning with is that they do this because of examination. La cram, la pour. I don't know where I heard that. I think it's coach. They cram, they pour, and it's a closed on deal. But the moment learners begin to understand the purpose of learning, that it has moved beyond examination to a skill that they would need to thrive. Now, 65% of children, this is a report from the World Economic Forum. It predicted far back 8 years ago that 65% of children who are entering primary school will work in jobs that have not yet been created. I want you to take your time to ruminate on this research statement again. 65% of children who are presently in classrooms will work in jobs that have not yet been created. Now, this statement was issued 8 years ago, and just 8 years after, we are seeing it. Individuals who get to the university and they spend cumulative of 8 to 10 years studying medicine, coming out to say that, oh, this is not my passion. I want to do influencing. I want to get on social media to educate. 8 years ago, if you had interviewed those individuals during their matriculation, they would have bet that they were getting into school. Follow me, we're going somewhere. These individuals would have sworn that they were getting into school to come out and work in the big hospital, to become resident doctors and go up the ladder like that. If you are here and you're not doing what you studied in school, please raise up your hands. This shows us that then the reason why children think they're going to school to come out and do what they studied is no longer feasible. Don't you think that we must begin to recalibrate? Good morning, coach. Don't you think that we must begin to recalibrate what we think learning is? If the reason why a child is going to school is to pass exams, when they come out and that particular course they studied in school is not what they are in, how do you think that individual will thrive? If the reason being, how do you think this individual will thrive? The reason being that they would have to come out and relearn new skills that would enable them thrive in the new marketplace that they are going to play. All I'm trying to say is to establish the fact that in understanding our children's learning strengths and inculcating learning skills or teaching learning skills, we must begin to recalibrate the mindset that learning is for examination. That is one of the fixed mindsets that has held learners back. We must begin to teach children that learning is for life. Learning is for life. The learning that is done in school is just a phase. The learning that the learners do in school, the whole school work, it's a phase. Learning is a lifelong journey. The moment we begin to drum this in the ears of learners, they will begin to get into the center stage of their learning journey. Learning is a lifelong pursuit. I didn't get this until I began to interact with Coach Wendy and the inner circle. When Coach began to say that the purpose she's driving her children to learn is far beyond academic accomplishment, I didn't get it. I do now. If all we're doing is to raise children who are academically competent but do not get the skill of learning, and it is not ingrained within them that school learning is a phase, there is learning that will need to be done in life. And if they are going to thrive, they are going to need to become lifelong learners. But the question lies, how do we get these children at the center stage of their learning experience? That is what this session will answer to you today. Now, let me ask a quick question. Can any of you think of a subject or subject matter that you struggled with in school? Let me get your comments quickly. Can you think of a subject or a subject matter that you struggled with in school? For me, it was chemistry. I didn't get it. I didn't element and atom, neutron, what are those things? I didn't get it. Now, if you were here and there was a concept you struggled with in school, let me see you in the comment section. As your feedback comes back, we're going to take a quick poll. This quick poll is going to show us the answer to the questions you're asking in the comment section. So the team will share a link to you. Just go on that link, and we're going to share a link to you in the comment section. Just go on that link and vote. As you vote, it's going to pop up on our stream right here. So just take 1 second. It's just going to take you 1 second. Get on the poll on your screen. Then I'm going to feature this link now. Hold on, the link is running. Okay, so it's featured. There's a link. Once you vote, type "I have voted." So once we start voting, the screen is going to show that we are voting. So let me maximize this so we're seeing properly. Okay. So once you voted, let us now know why you struggled with maths, chemistry, and physics. Bethel struggled with all concepts in maths. Once you start voting, we will know. So the votes are coming in. Fantastic. The votes are coming in. So we're asking, what do you believe? I hope, okay, you're seeing the screen. The votes are coming in. Let me quickly remove this overlay so we can see. We're asking, what do you believe is the primary determinant of academic success or effective learning? We have options like parental involvement, natural intelligence. 80% have voted, 70% have voted effective study habits and time management. 21% have voted parental involvement. So see what we have here. Okay. 4% have voted hard work and effort. Okay. 69% right now, effective study habits. 24% parental involvement. 3% natural intelligence. So let's get these votes up. So we see. So if you watch your screen, you're going to see down the top. Okay. Let me ensure that I go to the winning option. Effective study habits and time management. Voted. Thank you for voting. Vote. We're going to close it in a bit. So quickly vote so we move to the reason why we're even taking this poll. Diane said we cannot vote extra lessons again. You've been delivered. That's what the inner circle does for you. Okay. So we're effective study habits and time management is winning. Effective study habits and time management is winning. It's winning. It's winning. Never no extra lessons. TIP does a brainwash on you, and sometimes you're thinking, did I really believe those things I used to think? Extra lessons. Now we're talking effective study. I have good students. Give myself a round of applause. So I think that I could stop this now. I could stop this now. I have voted. Thank you. People are voting. I was expecting natural intelligence. I love. So I think I could stop the screen now. Remove. Now, a lot of you have responded to different subjects that you found difficult. Now, do you think that if you had interacted with this knowledge well. For instance, let me use okay, thank you. For instance, let me use Omaumi, science subjects except biology. So we're talking chemistry and physics. Omaumi, you struggled with science, physics, and chemistry. Do you think that if you had put in the work, if you had put in the work, if you had put in the skills that I'm going to share with you today, you're going to answer this question at the end. But just bear it in mind, Omaumi, to the 236 of us here, bear in mind that subject you struggled with. Do you think that you would still struggle with it after what I share with you today? After what I share with you today, we're going to come back to this question at the end. But do you think that you would really struggle with the concepts you struggled with in school after what I share with you today? Now, the reason why I'm starting this conversation today is because of the concept of self regulated learning. Self regulated learning. Research has shown that successful and unsuccessful learning isn't a factor of IQ. You guys already got this from the poll. It isn't a factor of IQ, but rather how viewers view themselves, view the concept, and their approach to learning. And this can be summarized to what we call self regulated learning. Now, self regulated learning simply refers to the degree which or to which students are active and responsible participants in their own learning process. I can bet you that I don't want to throw around random figures, but I can bet you from my experience as an educator, a good number of students are a good number of students are in school or they are studying because of their parents, because of their teachers, because they would be corrected, for parents who flog and beat and do corporal punishment because they'll be punished. This was for the my whole of my secondary school. The only reason I read, to be honest, was because my father was going to flog me and deny giving me provisions. That was why. That was why I started running around during examinations. But everything changed for me in uni the moment I grasped the concept of self regulated learning. Your children will begin to take the center stage of their learning journey, which typically changes everything the moment they become self-regulated learners. I'm not going to dive into the concept of self-regulated learners a lot, but a meta-analysis by Zimmerman 2002 found that students with higher levels of self-regulation towards learning tend to perform better academically across various subjects and grade levels. Now, Duckworth et al. 2019 demonstrated that self-regulation predicts academic success more reliably than IQ scores. In fact, self-control predicted longitudinal changes in report card grades better than IQ predicted. So your child is struggling, you are fighting, you're having to yell to get them to read. All you need to begin to practice today is to get them on the lane of self regulated learning, where they begin to take the center stage. Part of your prayers is taken care of. Anybody you see thrive academically and they did it rightly without exam malpractice, I can bet you that they were self-regulated learners. No time to delve into the whole concept of self-regulated learning, but we have 4 levels of self-regulated learning. Number 1 is setting goals. Any child who is going to be a self-regulated learner must have goals. They must have what they are pursuing and chasing right in front of them. Number two, we have learning strategies. This includes selecting strategies that will be effective for their learning outcomes. We'll look at all of that as we move along. The next is self-monitoring, evaluating and tracking their performance. Every time Every time you see a learner thriving, they have goals, they have strategies that they are implementing, they are monitoring. Learners who don't care, they don't monitor, they don't look at their grades. What did I get in first term? If I got 70 in first term and I'm targeting an A, that means that I must work towards getting an 80, an 85, a 90. There is a monitoring. What did I score in the first TA? If I scored a 30, if I scored a 20 over 30, and I'm targeting a 90 percentile at the end of the term, that means that I have to work hard in examinations. There is the monitoring and there's also the evaluation. There is the monitoring and there is also the evaluation. So the goal at the end of the day is to ensure that we are working towards raising self-regulated learners. And you cannot raise a self-regulated learner without delivering and without inculcating executive functioning skills, of which self-regulation is part of it, self-awareness and self-regulation. And this is a good time to remind you that everything we are doing are tips and hacks. The entirety of your parenting process is only triggered when you are in an accountability system and a coaching system. And of course, that is what the inner circle provides to you. So I'm talking self-regulation, but I can't delve into it fully. But the whole curriculum in the inner circle is designed to inculcate and imbibe executive functioning skills in your child. And a lot of times, you don't even have to do this deliberately. The system is already curated to enable you to do this. Team, please let's push out the scroller for registering in the inner circle. You don't want to do this bit by bit by bit. You get this, you get this, you get this, you get overwhelmed. Get in a system. Get in a coaching system. Get in an accountability system. So let's move to the concept of learning strengths. Now, learning strengths, if we're going to raise self-regulated learners, we must understand their learning styles, we must also understand their learning strengths. Now, there is a tie-up between learning styles and learning strengths, but permit me to define learning strength as an innate or developed ability that individuals excelling within the learning process. A learning strength or an individual's learning strength is an innate. A learning style is a preferred way, it's a preferred mode. Your child's learning style is a preferred way, they just prefer X, Y, they prefer X. But their learning strength is an innate or developed ability inside that enables them thrive in school. Now, there are different ways that you can understand your child's learning strength: through observation, through knowing their multiple intelligence. We also have through their personality, which is what I'm going to center this part of today's webinar on. If you are able to hack your child's personality, you are 50% on your way to raising a self-regulated learner. Now, personality and approach to learning are closely intertwined aspects of an individual's psychological makeup, which influences how they approach learning, how they set goals, and how they engage in various activities. Now, I'm privileged to be the founding director of a young preschool in Uyu, Akwa Ibom State. So I'm in the setting, I've brought my learners to be our what's that word now? Our test rabbits, our lab rats for today. Now we're going to use my 3 to 4 year olds. In my 3 to 4 year olds, I see learners who are bossy. I see learners who want to become team. Please let's move out that inner circle thing on the screen. So the Yes, thank you. Now, I'm going to use four of my pupils, real names, real individuals. I'm going to use the four of them to explain to you how much your child's personality is affecting their learning and their journey to become self-regulated learners. So, meet Karik. Karik is a cute 3 year, 9 month old boy. Very cute. His temperament is choleric. One thing you know about Carrick is that he is the bossy leader type. You don't tell me, I know what I want to do and I want to do it. And most particularly, Carrick wants to be the mini teacher by force. So picture this: the teacher is teaching, he's in the classroom, everybody is learning. You hear Carrick say, "Do this thing now." Picture he's talking to his age mates. This is a 3 year. He's going to be 4 in June. Now, this is a 3 years, 9 months old boy. You hear him, his teacher is teaching his mates to form letters, form numbers, do what they need to do. He leaves his seat, comes to the other seat, and tries telling the person just what the teacher is teaching. Now, from my understanding of temperament and personality, I could tell that this young boy is a choleric. He's a mean leader type of young man. He wants by all means to become the mini teacher. So every time his classmates are learning, he's always moving around to correct them. The teacher is there, and the teacher's like, "Would you go to your seat?" Say, "But he's not getting it." That is Carrick for you. The next child we're going to look at is Somto. Somto. Now, if you see a child in any of these kids, please point out. Somto is 3 years, 3 months. Cute little boy. The life of the party. As I sit in my office, I always hear, "Somto, sit down. Leave that place. Is that your seat? Why are you there? Do this thing." if I don't hear the teacher call names, I think I hear Somto's name over 10 times. Are you supposed to be doing that? Is that what you're supposed to be doing? Come back. Go back. Sit down. That is Somto. Now, Somto is your life of party kind of a young man. He comes to school, he jumps up, he greets you. At that point, he's saying, "You didn't greet, you didn't greet, you didn't greet." Life of a party, sweet young boy. 3 years, 3 months. We move to the next person, Purity. Now, picture Purity as a calm, very calm. You have to remind her to greet. You have to remind her to use her etiquette. She's laid back. She would never talk. She would only talk when the other classmates are talking. Now, bear in mind that Somto is what we'll categorize, according to Tim Laye's Why You Act the Way You Do, we'll categorize him as a sanguine. Now, Purity is, you would have to ask Purity to talk before she talks. You would have to say something now. Say something. The teacher gets angry or probably raises her voice, and Purity is down the whole day. When Purity came, I had to sit down to coach her teacher because she frustrated the teacher. She wasn't going to talk. The parents had to say, "Is she talking? She doesn't talk at home." Or I had to go a whole coaching for the parents as well. So this is Purity. She wouldn't volunteer. She just wants to be on her own. Until the classmates talk, that is when she talks. When they stop talking, that is when she stops talking. This is a phlegmatic child. The next person is Amanda. Now, picture Amanda to be a little bit of Carrick. She's the leader. She's self-directed. She knows what she wants. So when the class is undergoing a task, Amanda is the person that nobody needs to call. Carrick is going to leave his work and teach other people. Somto is not even going to do the work at all until there is a supervision or there is a competition. Purity is going to sit with the pencil and pen down on the teacher comes over to guide her. She knows it, but Amanda is going to be the person that you wouldn't hear her name. You give her any worksheet, any activity, she starts it immediately. Now, we've looked at, in a quick summary, the four temperaments using real life children that I interact with every day. Now, my daughter is an Amanda. You give her, she's okay. You don't need to chase her around. Some of you might have a Carrick. Some of you might have a Somto. Some of you might have a Purity. But don't you think that in this strength or weakness, that there are lessons we can learn to enable them thrive? So let's go back to the extroverted sanguine characters. Their learning strength is in their ability to thrive in interpersonal skills. So Somto is everything in the class revolves around a Somto type of child. He has strong interpersonal skills, builds beautiful rapport with his classmates. Let me move back to Somto. Okay, builds beautiful rapport with his classmates. They thrive anytime that the learning is individualized. He wouldn't thrive, he will be so distracted. But when it has to be in a group setting, in a collaborated setting, in group projects, Somto will thrive. Now, it's left for the parents of a child like Somto to understand that your child is a social, emotional person. This child will thrive when they are doing things in in group settings. So if a child is struggling like Somto, all you need to do is to simulate. All you need to do for this child is to simulate a group setting. It could be in the home. It could be with you. It could be, okay, you want to write. Okay, I'm writing my own. You write your own. Say, oh, are you writing? Yes, I'm writing. Do you understand? I'm talking of toddlers that I work with right now. Then for this group of learners, their motivational triggers, how you ought to motivate this group of learners, is through affiliation and recognition. They are motivated by social approval. So you want to do a lot of well done, Somto, good job. And he smiles and he moves back. So a lot of verbal approval, a lot of recognition, a lot of praise. They want to know. These are the kids that look at your face to know if you approve of what they are doing. So the study skills you begin to teach this child is that you thrive in groups. So group mentoring, not bad. Vocal praise, not bad. Do you understand? That is for children like Somto. We move to children like Carrick, strong leaders, strong organizational skills, goal oriented, bossy. They are always the ones giving the instructions to their classmates. Do this, do that. You didn't do it. You didn't write this well. These are the children like Carrie. Now, one thing you must take out from this lesson is your ability to advocate for your children. We talked about this in Tuesday Live. A lot of parents know this, but you only apply it at home and you don't go back to educate your child's children. For instance, children like Carrie can be easily boxed up as heady and strong-willed. Meanwhile, it's a weakness that is it's a strength that is representing as weakness. So what do teachers do? They shut down children like this. Go and sit down. Over Sabi. Do you understand that kind of a thing? So you must be able to understand this is a strength that you can tap into. These guys are driven by goals. They demonstrate persistent, and they're quite self-disciplined as well. So what are the study skills for these children? Teach them time management. Help them understand how to manage their time. Teach them organizational skills. These learners learn in a structured, organized. If things are not put in place, that child might go back and start putting it in place as against. So their learning environment must be structured at all times. Their learning environments must be order. There must be order to it. This group of learners also learn best with the study skill called active learning. So they always want to be in charge. So every time they are writing, they are reading. The reading, they should be a book. They should feel like they are also in charge of that learning process. How do we motivate these? What are their motivative triggers? Make them the leader of the pack. If a child like Somto needs a group, he doesn't really mind if he's the leader. Once he's in a group, he's good. But a child like Carrick, he wants to be the one dictating. So if he doesn't spoil anything, make him the leader. Put him as the leader of the pack. Always remember, you know you're the leader. You know I trust you. You know you're the this. You know you're the that. Just that ego staring would get that child seated to read for hours. Just because you stroke. So a parent would have to be skilled in stroking the ego of your conscientious child, of your bossy child. We move to the next child, who is an Amanda. Now, for Amanda, Amanda is already is naturally a disciplined person. This child is, I'm looking for a word now. It's flashing. This child is meticulous. That's the word I wanted to use. A child like Amanda is meticulous. They have a deep sense of curiosity, critical thinking. They always want to explore novelty. They are the children who are, because they are introspective, they are always thinking. When a teacher asks a question, this child is not that child who is going to be the first person to give the answer. They want to think. They want to consider their options. That is the child you have in Amanda. These children thrive with self expression. So, children like this, a lot of hands on learning works best for them. Goal setting also works for the child like this. Excuse me. Fostering critical thinking also works for a child like this. Simulating ways that the child can think, letting them know that you respect their thinking, and giving them the grace and the time to ruminate over their thoughts before they give expression to it. That is the child. For children like this, the work you have in building self-regulation, the work you have in building self-regulation, either will be tougher for a child like Somto than it would for a child like Amanda. Now, Josephine is saying, I'm looking for where my child falls in all of this. Let me explain. In temperament, we have the primary, we have the dominant, and we have the secondary. So there is a possibility that your child might not be a glaring example of one of these temperaments. They might be a combination of an Amanda and a Carrick, of a Purity and a Somto. Do you understand? It's normal to have mixed personality. So if you don't see it in these four dominant ones, there could be a mixture of a bit of this, a bit of this, and a bit of the other ones. I hope this answers your questions. Now let's go to the childlike purity. Their learning strength is their social emotional strength. This child exhibits empathy. This child is diplomatic. This child doesn't want trouble. They excel when they're in a positive relationship, and they thrive in keyword everyone, harmonious learning environments. So, for a child like Purity, they will not thrive if they are with the child. For a child like Purity, listen, they will not thrive in a classroom where the teacher doesn't have a hold of their emotions. What will happen to this child is that this child will down themselves. They will shrink to the noise. So you also, if you have a child, of these four temperaments, the Purity temperament needs more advocating for. Especially if you find that they are in a learning environment where there's a lot of shout, a lot of condemnation, a lot of yelling. This child will down him. I remember a child like Purity that was brought to us when the first year we started. She's probably one of the most children that I have met with very low self-confidence. She wouldn't talk. You ask questions. You try to probe her a little bit. She starts crying. But just by evaluating her, we knew that this girl is intelligent. She has just come from a learning environment that was not harmonious. There was a lot of picking on her. There was a lot of verbal abuse. There was a lot of physical abuse. So she downed within herself. So the number one tool in enabling these children thrive is ensuring that their learning environment is emotionally stabilized and harmonious for them. So these children will need a lot of reassurance. Not the ones you throw, the ones you get down to their level, look in their eyes and remind them that you believe in them. These children need environments with mutual respect, cooperation, and where their emotions can be recognized and attended to. They thrive in environments of harmony. That is one thing you must know about this child. Study skills to enable them thrive regular breaks, because they could sit at a spot and they stop learning, but they're not going to say anything because they are scared that mommy will shout. They are scared that mommy will do this. They are scared that mommy will do the other one. So this group of learners will thrive in when you chunk up their learnings, they do 10 minutes, you give them a little breather. They do another 10 minutes, you give them a little breather. The lastly for them, like I've been saying, is a positive learning environment. These children need a positive learning environment, a learning environment that celebrates effort, progress, and cultivates a sense of security and motivation for them. Now, this in a quick rundown is how you can identify the strengths that shine through. This is a way you can identify the strength that shine through from the personality of your child. And trust me, if you couple the learning styles and the multisensory strategies that you have learned, and you couple identifying whether they have a learning disability, a learning difference, or a learning difficulty, like Dr. Molola highlighted yesterday, you are on your way to raising a self regulated learner. Where purity is slow in writing, what do you do as a teacher? Purity might not be slow in writing because of her personality. She might be slow in writing probably because of her development. I'm going more than I see. Just bear in mind, let's focus on the purpose of the class. She might not be slow in writing because of her personality. It could be because of her developmental age. Let's not forget that writing is a physical activity. And the rate at, I don't know about this child, the rate at which probably you're dealing with before, depending, it might not be because of her personality. She might not be slow in writing because of her personality. It could be because her fine motor skills are not properly developed. It could be because she has writing fatigue, that she tires out easily. It's a physical thing. It's not about her personality. All right. Let's move on to exploring study skills. So we've looked at the different learning strengths of the different categories and the different learners. Let's now move to study skills. We're going to we're going to take a quick look at this quote by Howard Gardner. Now, Howard Gardner is a psychologist, an American psychologist that postulated the theory of multiple intelligences. It's something that I think you should go back and study on your own. Howard Gardner postulated the theory of the multiple intelligences, and he said this quote: number one, the most important thing we can teach our children is how to learn. Let me see it in the comment section. The most important thing that we could teach our children is how to learn. Uche Chukwu, you might want to look at your network, but no one else is complaining. So you might want to maybe boot out and come back again. All right? But if the network is seizing from your end, any other person, please let me know so we look at it from my end. Now, the most important thing we can teach our children is how to learn. So this shows that there is a how to learn. Because learning is an innate skill, a lot of us now assume that the learning strategies and the learning skills are also innate. Let me say it again. Because learning is an innate skill, oftentimes we assume that because learning is an innate skill, study skills, learning strategies are also innate. No. Learning might be an innate skill, but we need to take on the responsibility of teaching our children how to learn. A lot of times, we do not teach children how to learn. We just send them to school, the teacher teaches, we give them their books, and we give the statement, go and read. And the child opens up the book, and all they are thinking is, how exactly am I to read? Has this ever happened to you? Even as you are right now as an adult, you open up a book and you're just staring. You're just staring at it. Okay, this I should read. This I should read. From you're looking at it, your mind wanders off. Your mind wanders off. Then you just catch yourself again. Oh, I'm supposed to be reading. Then you start staring again. For a lot of people, reading and studying is a staring contest between you and the book. You look me, I look you. You look me, I look you. I look at you, you look at me. Do you understand that? But if you're going to help your child become a self-regulated learner, you must teach them the multisensory approach to studying, which was what coach looked at on day one. So that means that for a visual learner, highlighters and mind mapping should be a tool for them. For an auditory learner, you should be able to teach them strategies that help an auditory learner thrive. For your kinesthetic learner, you must be able to teach them how they can incorporate a hands-on approach even to studying. There is a way. Number two quote by Howard Gardner is, if a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. This kind of summarizes what we did in day one. There is a way a child learns, and we should teach the way they learn. All right? So let's look at age by age study guides. Let's look at age by age study guide from age 1 to 5. Their study skill is play. Everybody write it. You have a child in age 1 to 5. There is nothing else you are doing. Any other thing you are doing, you are playing. You are wasting your time. Take it to the court. I will defend myself as my own attorney. Anything you do for a child between the ages 1 to 5 that does not involve play, you are wasting your damn time. So the study skills for ages 0 to 5 is play. I don't know what I should say again that Dr. Molola didn't say yesterday. Play is where children thrive. Maria Montessori is going to say that play is the work of a child. So like I like to explain, as you pick up your briefcases, your bags, and you go to work, and for those that work virtually, you open up your laptop and you get into the world of your work, your child's work is play. So whatever skill you're trying to teach that child, whatever skill you are trying to teach that child that you have not incorporated play in, you are wasting your time. Spontaneity, play, and lastly, emotionally charged environment. So there has to be an oscillation between joy and laughter and a little bit of fear. Children never forget that. That's it for ages 1 to 5. Ages 6 to 11, because these children are still coming from play. A child needs to play. Once they're within the bracket of being children, they need to play. But once a child gets to 6 to 11, we begin to downplay in the schools because they're getting into more formal learning from first grade of year one. So we begin to downgrade play to, the meat of the matter. But we can still incorporate interactive and hands-on learning for this group of children. Any child in any school age child, we can still incorporate. So as they are learning, organize activities, experiments, projects, these children thrive in it. You also use visual aids they need to see, irrespective of their learning styles. Coach has also mentioned that even if a child can have a specific learning style, let me say it again. Even if a child can have a specific learning style, you could also tap into the other multisensory approach and help them thrive. One of the most successful phonics program is Jolly Phonics. Before other phonics program began to tap into like Letterland and all of that, began to tap into that system. And Jolly Phonics is simply a multisensory approach of teaching children sounds. So they learn by sight, by the colorful flashcards and the learning material. They learn by auditorily. They hear the sound, they hear the rhymes, right? They also learn by tactile feeling. So if you're here, everybody knows the Jolly Phonics program. We have the the tapping, we have the jumping and all of that. Now, if a child forgets the sound that they said that they heard, they won't forget the picture they saw. If they forget the picture they saw, they won't forget the actions. So you're teaching phonics and a child has forgotten the sound of the digraph A, I, A. For this child, They don't necessarily need to start thinking. You just need to do like this, and it's a cue. Somehow they miraculously remember. That is why at age 4, a child can know the 44 sounds of the alphabet just using the multisensory approach. So I'm saying this to also mention that we can tap for 6 to 11-year-olds. We could also tap into the multisensory approach of learning. A little bit of visual, a little bit of kinesthetic, tactile, kinesthetic, a little bit of auditory. If we blend all of this together, that child will not forget. And you could also teach them these skills as well as you apply it, whether as an educator or as a parent. Another skill you could incorporate for these children is to encourage regular breaks and physical activities. Why? It is because attention and focus is often attention and focus is often directed by the age of a child. So a lot of times we're shouting, my child is not having focus. My child is not having focus. And you now ask the parent, mommy, which focus are you talking about for a 3-year-old? I say, this girl cannot even sit down for up to 20 minutes. This child cannot even sit down. And you see them parrying and they're literally swimming. And you're like, mommy, is everything all right upstairs? When developmentally, a child that is 3 can only pay attention for 6 to 8 minutes. The highest, we're talking 6 to 15 minutes. But there you are, expecting your 3-year-old to sit still for 30 minutes because you are who? Who is your father? How much do you have? Do you see? So for children like this, they are still within the developmental age where their attention fluctuates. So one of the study skills you must teach them and incorporate for them is regular breaks and physical activities. And we know that physical activities increase the dopamine hormone. It increases the joy hormone. Once they involved, they get on a high. You can tap into that high and incorporate it back to the learning that was existing. So instead of you to, okay, everybody, it's time to study, and you're saying you're going to study for 30 minutes stretch, it is more effective for you. You do 10 minutes in, 5 minutes, do what you love, 10 minutes in, 5 minutes, do what you love. At the end of the day, you will get your 30 minutes of study time. But they have enjoyed rather than endured that learning process. So for this group of children, regular breaks and physical activities works fantastically. It even works for adults as well. That is why when you get into a long form type webinar conference, there's always a breakout session where they're like, okay, go and stretch your body, go and have a water break, go and do this, go and do that. It applies for adults. How much more for children? For middle school age children, these guys were done with all play. It's work now. It's real work. We teach them study skills that we're going to mention. Apart from that, we also introduce time management skills for them. They need to be able to work with their time. We can't talk self-regulated learning if your child doesn't understand time management. In the academy, Yadas, you can all give a raise of hand if you remember that amazing webinar that coach taught on time management. If that webinar does not just apply for parents, you could take the knowledge and apply to your children. But how shall you get access to that webinar if you do not join the inner circle? You see? You see? So there are details scrolling on your screen. Please get on board the inner circle today. The inner circle is not just a parenting academy. In the words of our Yadas, it's a life academy. It takes you as an individual and it makes you a different person. It broadens your horizon and gives you different perspectives to things that you thought were the norm. So I was going to inner circle because I want to talk about time management. So teach time management. Your child must learn how to juggle the learning, the subjects. That's one of the skills that boarding school actually teaches because everything is timed. So whether your child is in a boarding school or your child is at a day school, ensure that there is that schedule. That's the power of routines. The power of routines and schedules. It teaches time management to children. When they know that there is this time, there is this time, there is time for everything, there's time for play, there's time for screen, there's time for this. Time management is one of the most important skills that your middle-aged children between 12 to 14 will learn. Another one is organizational skills. They must learn to manage the academic materials. They must learn to manage their study resources. They must learn the study skills that we're going to mention that works for them as individuals. You also encourage independent study habits. You also encourage independent study habits. Now, middle age of that age, 11 to 14, is a time of transition where learners transition from the part of learning where there's a lot of coaching, there's a lot of did you do this, to independence, because at this age they're probably 3, 4, 5 years away from uni. So you must be able to teach them independent study habits. So we're talking goal setting, we're talking managing their time effectively, we're talking seeking help, going to their teachers, understanding that I didn't understand this thing. This woman I've taught for the past 1 hour. I did not understand it. Oh, let me better go and meet her. Do you understand? It is the point that we now expect that they take full charge. And if at this age, of course, at the academy, we already expect that you're raising independent learners from their formative years. But if at this age you still have to give reminders, you still have to yell, you still have to do this, then it's a matter of emergency. You need it become important, very important. Then, lastly, for children in high school, ages 15 to 18, we look at advanced study skills. We begin to teach them advanced study skills. We teach them strategies for test preparations. I'm jumping the advanced study skills because we're going to look at that as we round off. Then we look at test preparation, because at this age they begin to do advanced external examinations. So they need to know how to navigate the examination system. They need to know how to prepare properly. They need to manage their time, practice tests, and review sessions. Very, very important. Now let's look at these advanced study skills that we should begin to teach children from the ages of 8. Let's put it at 8. All right. Let's look at the advanced study skills that we can begin to teach children at the age of 8. One, let me see what's in the comment section. Practice retrieval and spaced testing. Now, practice retrieval is one of the most important study skills or study skill that any child can be exposed to. Say it again. Practice retrieval is one of the most important study skill that any child can have. The concepts of revision, mock tests, all tap into the concept of practice retrieval. Here's what happens. Before a knowledge is consolidated, there needs to be enough interaction with that subject matter. That is where the concept of rote memorization comes in. You define a concept at once, nobody barely picks it. You define a concept at once, nobody barely picks it. Practice retrieval, and I move on. I bet that is why somebody here, let's give an example. That is why somebody here was asking about number 4, because I didn't pay attention to number 4 of the steps of self-regulation like I did to number 1 to 3. There was no way to practice it. That's why we are going to tell you, write it back. It is you're practicing to retrieve that information from your mind. Practice retrieval involves retrieving information from your memory through regular testing or self-quizzing sessions. Very important. For the consolidation of knowledge to occur or to happen, there needs to be repetitive retrieval of that information. You learn it today, you come back tomorrow, we revise it again, we look at where you didn't pick up, we go back again, we go back again, we go back again. This retrieval is important. So that means that we need to begin to teach children to do loads of revisions, mock tests. Also, in practice retrieval, we need to teach children to learn to approach their learning from the part of a teacher or an examiner. So when they are reading a text, instead of just reading and rambling through it and jotting down, they should read it with the thought and the mindset to answer questions. If you read a concept because you're just reading through it, or you read a concept because that you're going to ask yourself questions, not even because of the exam, but I'm going to ask myself questions and I need to be able to remember it. It will be impressed on you to retrieve over and over again rather than you're just reading because. Do you understand? So practice retrieval also involves regular testing, regular revisions, self-quizzing. Then it also involves the teacher taking the place of the pupil, taking the place of the teacher. So you could have simulate where your child is now teaching you. So go read that concept, come back to teach me. At that place, when they are trying to teach the individual, what happens? At that instance, when they're trying to teach the individual, they begin to simplify it. Because you can't teach without simplifying concepts. I can come and don't practice retrieval, but I'm taking time to explain because I want to simplify it as much as possible. So as you get that process of simplifying, in the words of Diction with IC, there is a reinforcement of that knowledge. There is a repetition. You can barely forget it. I love to always give this instance as I move to the next study skill of a teacher you had who never had to teach with a study material, or your pastors who quote the scriptures off their hands in such a way that you can't forget it. They've exercised the practice retrieval. They've done it over, they've done it one time, two times, three times, over and over and over again. In secondary school, we're dealing with 13 to 15 weeks. If in 13 to 15 weeks your child learns to manage their time and set their study in such a way that they incorporate practice retrieval for everything they have learned, they will not forget. And learning becomes a joy rather than a chore. The next one is spaced repetition. Instead of cramming information all at once, space out your study sessions. 10 minutes in, 10 minutes, 10 minutes in, 5 minutes out for younger learners. According to the Pomodoro principle, it says that an individual, an adult, can pay attention for at least 25 minutes. So as your children grow, you can increase the span of their attention. You can increase the attention span. We start with 10, we go to 12, we go to 15, we go to 20, we move to 25, we put in breaks in between. That is spaced repetition. Why? The technique of spaced repetition leverages the brain's ability to retain information more effectively when it is revisited as spaced intervals rather than in a wham, rather than reading everything 1 hour. Excuse me. Rather than just, I didn't have any vocabulary to explain it, but you get it. I'm reading it. Zam, 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 zam. Instead of doing that, it is better that there is a pacing. It helps the brain work better and consolidate that information better. The next would be chunking information. If I asked you to call out your phone number now, I can bet that you're going to do a 0803 758 998 11 this. It's called chunking. What chunking does is that it breaks down complex information into smaller and more manageable pieces. That is why if you have to remember your social security number, your NIN number, so unconsciously you've chunked it. Unconsciously, thank you guys for the vocabulary. Diction says marathon reading. Joy says voracious reading. You all get it. My own is blue. My own is that's just the way I want to do it. Like you know how we get it. Well, thank you so much for that. So the next would be on chunking. Chunking, teach your children to chunk information. It means that chunking information simply means organizing information in meaningful groups, categories, which makes it easy for the brain to retain. If I asked you here to give me the definition or the characteristics of living things, I bet you're going to remember Mr. Niger did. You've chunked it up into an acronym. So that is one way of chunking. Chunking can be breaking into pieces, like the way we remember numbers. Chunking can involve using acronyms. That's a good way to chunk, to go lead to easier retrieval of information. The next is active learning. Active learning involves active participation and interaction with the material. So that means having your highlighter pen, that means having your colored pen where you where you underline the concepts that you think you need to retain better. Active learning means you have your jotter, you're drawing a mind map. That's active learning. So we need to teach children to actively learn. It involves summarizing key concepts in your own words. This works like magic. Summarizing key concepts in your own words, teaching the material to somebody else works a lot. Applying the knowledge to solve real life problems works a lot. Now, what active learning promotes is deeper understanding and retention by encouraging learners to actively process, retrieve, and manipulate the information. So rather than just sitting down and you're looking at your book, the book is looking you, you look me, I look you, I look you, till the person that decides to stop looking. Yeah. I'm an early years teacher, so I tend to be dramatic a lot of times, but I hope you're enjoying yourself in this session. Now, instead of that, you look me, I look you look me, I look you. Oftentimes you get tired because the book is an inanimate object. You use active learning techniques. The next would be, we've looked at chunking. The next would be the Pomodoro principle. The Pomodoro principle. It's simply breaking your study sessions into 25-minute intervals. And the catch about the Pomodoro principle is that it's followed by a something. It's followed by a break. It's followed by an activity that you actually love. It's followed by rest. What this does is that it helps you maintain concentration so you don't burn out. Rather than spending, even for adults as well, rather than spending 1 hour, putting a 5 minute break in between the 25 minutes, your brain will thank you better than that hour stretch. We also explained the use of multisensory. Coach has expansively looked at that on day one. Please go back to that section. You will thank yourself for it. The last one we're going to look at is the Feynman technique. It means explaining concepts or ideas in a simple term as if you were teaching them to someone else. So, right here, you're not teaching it to someone else, but you're teaching it to you. This technique involves breaking down complex topics into digestible explanations, identifying gaps in understanding, and revising the explanations to improve one, clarity, two, comprehension. So the Feynman technique involves breaking it down. So let's take the concept on the screen, chunking information. Break down complex information into smaller and more manageable chunks. You stop. So this means that I can take an information and I divide it. Let's say that breakdown is two and you want to use simpler terms. I divide it, I break it apart. So when I break the information apart, it becomes smaller, and as it becomes smaller, it's easier for me to understand. So right here, you're not teaching another person. You're doing it for you. You're teaching yourself. This is a good way. This is what we're going to talk about meditation. This right here is what meditation is. Sitting down, taking the concept, whether it's the Bible, whatever you're doing, you take it, you sit with it, and you ruminate. You sit with it and you ruminate. All right. The last one is practice test. Practice test. Practice test. Test your own knowledge by actively recalling information from memory without reference materials. Test your own knowledge by actively recalling information from the memory. The slide is actually finished, guys. Apologies for that. All right, but you could just hear me. Whatever you need me to reiterate, I could do that. But this is the last of our slide. All right. So the self-testing involves testing your own knowledge by actively recalling information. So after you've defined chunking information and you read for like 10 minutes, you come back, try to retrieve it again. What is chunking information? This works a lot of it works a lot for people who are into the practice retrieval. The process of practice retrieval can interfere with by the teacher if the teacher gives a hint where critical thinking is to be done by the student. Okay? I don't really get what you're trying to explain, Madam Udwak. Good, explain it again, or Mr. Udwak, whoever that is. All right. So I think I've come to the end of this session. Every other study skill has been looked at in day one. I promised to ask a question, and I'm going to go back there shortly. I need you all to answer this question. Why do you think that some learners are better, or some people are better learners than the other people? Question one. Question two would be, do you think I should have did this to say, do you think that with this knowledge that you have at the moment, that if you were to go back to school right now, do you think you would honestly still struggle with that concept you struggle with? Or let's assume that everything is equal. You have good teachers. You were taught properly. Let's ensure. Let's not negate that. Let's assume that everything is equal. You were taught properly. You understood what you were taught. Do you think, time for your feedback? Do you think that you would have struggled with learning the way you did earlier? So at this point, I say thank you again to Coach and to my beautiful audience for your engagement. Let us know your questions. Let us know your questions and your comment. All right. I should project the last slide. So the last slide that talked about the practice, recall, and the Feynman technique wasn't part of the slide. It wasn't part of the slide, but I'm going to try to get back there. All right, but it's the slide you're looking for talked about the practice, recall, and the Feynman technique. It talked about the Feynman is spelled Feynman. Feynman. Patricia says, honestly, I wouldn't have struggled at all. Amina says, thank you, ma'am. Lola says, no. Love says, no. You have any questions? This is the point that you could quickly drop your questions so we answer in the next couple of minutes and call it a day while you prepare for the final module coming up tomorrow by our lead coach. Smart says no. Oluwatosin says no. I won't struggle at all. I love it. Brenda says no. Gift says no. So this response right now, what it's going to do for you is to choose the resolve that your child will need to struggle. So right now you're saying that if you had gotten this knowledge, that you would have been the best of you. I want you to reproject this resolve to your child, that if I didn't get this knowledge some time ago, I thank you. I saw a Basidian, so I live in Akwa Ibom State, so it just made me laugh. Thank you, ma'am. So thank you. That's my mini Bibio. So we move on. If you did not get this knowledge, your child shouldn't struggle. There is no reason why your child should struggle. Alrighty, how do we address wandering minds daydreaming? Number one, identify your learners. There are learners who are prone to wandering and daydreaming. Identify and consciously put it in your lesson plan to always recall them. So that means that this child has to be close to you. This child has to be in close proximity with you. This child has to know that you're conscious of them. So just put it into your itinerary, your lesson plan, or whatever you're doing for the day. That within so time, you call purity. Come back. You know, something like that. You could decide to get the child standing. You can decide to get the child actively engaged. So the secret is to get this child actively engaged. Give them roles during learning. You need someone to assist you. That child that would have been wondering, their mind is going from Kano to Kaduna to back to their state where they are. Get them engaged. Get me the marker. Get me the pen. You stand up. Oh, what do you think? Do you understand? If the child knows that this teacher is on my matter, that wondering, will relate. So the secret is simply get them engaged during the learning process. Oh, I just answered as if this was a teacher. But still on still, if this is a child, your child that you're getting them to learn, also let them know that mom is always going to check. So if you were to leave your other child who doesn't want that, this child just knows that they are going to come and ask for me. There should be the child should just know that they're going to come and ask. So get them engaged through the process and You are good. All right. Do I have any other question? I can see this. Question two, intuitively, I've always somehow known my learning styles and used them to my advantage. I have a combination of the three major learning styles. All right. So that's not a question, that's a comment. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, it's very it's sometimes my girls don't want to read as expected, though I try to give them breaks in between reading. If it's not a school book, they sometimes love to read, but school books is not always seamless. Do you love to read school books? Is it seamless for you? Yeah. So for this group of learners, put in the engage active learning, right? Take them through the active learning, teach them active learning, and they would love it. The truth is that no matter how we want to make learning beautiful, schoolwork can sometimes be monotonous, right? So all you need to do is to incorporate an activity when they see the pop of colors and all of that. Yeah, when they know that you're going to ask them to teach you. So employ these strategies that we have just learned right now. Employ these strategies we have just learned right now and let me know if there's a difference. All right, I guess it's time to call it a day. How do you overcome mind distractions while studies? Active learning. Active learning. Active learning. Your mind is wandering because reading is monotonous to you. Margaret asked that question. So if you apply the study skills when you're actively learning, it's going to be easy. It's going to be seamless. All right. My child is always complaining of reading in school. The question is not complete. Alrighty. Let's also remember, team, please project the details for the inner circle. In the inner circle, you have access to mind-blowing webinars. You have access to mind-blowing webinars. You have access to mind-blowing webinars on a weekly, on a monthly, on a everything basis. Like, you have access to life transforming webinars. You do not want to miss the opportunity of joining the inner circle by the 1st of December 2024. He complained of not wanting to read at home. Probably look at the learning environment. Probably create a study space for him. I'm answering the question of EC that says her child complains of not wanting to read at home. Probably the environment is a little bit of clutter. Some children don't want clutter. Would you mind dedicating a space and just touching it up with few things here and there, and let that environment be where he knows he goes to read. If he sees that effort, he might want to start reading at home. How do you study efficiently when I'm being lectured today and write exam the next day? I think that's the fault of the educational system we find ourselves in the country. You're an adult, you make you work. We're dealing with kids here now, so no comments, to be honest. Someone asked example of word formation to teach reading. Word formation to teach reading. What do you mean? My child prefers alphabets to numbers. Some children can be strong literally, but are not as strong with logical concepts. So that might just be your child's intelligence. My child might be a literal person who would like words, reading, and all. You've identified it, then do everything. Since you've identified that this child is more literal, he loves everything that has to do with literacy, tap into that strength, get him to do his reading. Then what you can do is to make maths come alive for this child. So let numeracy and numbers not just be a concept that they learn in school. Bring it to life. Bring it to life. Let it come alive. Look for maths in everything they do. When they are bathing, when they are feeding, during lunchtime, during chore time. Coach did a post on how to make your child a maths guru without hiring a maths teacher. Please do all you can to read back on that post. Then we highlighted a bit on this during the Tuesday webinar. Then we also do things like this during the inner circle webinars. So this would help. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you to my amiable boss for this opportunity, Coach. Thank you so much. See you guys tomorrow. God bless you. And don't forget to send your feedback in the Learning Hubs. Bye-bye, everyone.